Good evening, everyone. Today we're going to share our research question on how does discourse unfold the power and inequality in the debate on political issue. The methodology we have applied into this research is critical discourse analysis. Our research is based on the debate on Sino-US trade war. We focus on the first minute section. Two sides of the debate are Trish Regan from Fox Business and Liu Xin from CGTN, as known as China Global Television Network. The spark of the debate was Trish's comment that trade war is on China. We have upper hands. It's now or never. She condemned China for stealing $600 billion in intellectual property from the US. 8 days later, Liu Xin defended that China won't accept unequal trade deal. Trish claimed that China is targeting at her and she was ready to have a talk. And then Liu Xin accepted it. On May 29th, the debate was covered live via Fox Business. And the analytic framework we applied to this research is borrowed from Vendick's social cognition model. There are 4 steps of this framework. First one, examination of the context of the discourse from different perspectives. Number 2, analysis of groups, power relations, and conflicts involved. Number 3, identification of positive and negative opinions about us versus them. Number 4, examination of formal structures. Now, let's watch the reading.
All the way from Beijing, China, to discuss the challenges of trade between the U.S. and her home country. She's the host of a primetime English language television program overseen by the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party. And though she and I may not agree on everything, I believe this is actually a really unique opportunity. An opportunity to hear a very different view. Now, as these trade negotiations stall out, it's helpful to know how the Chinese Communist Party is thinking about trade and about the United States. Now, in the interest of transparency, I should explain that I don't speak for anyone but myself as the host of a Fox Business show. My guest, however, is part of the CCP, and that's fine. As I've said, I welcome different perspectives on this show. With all that in mind, I'm very pleased tonight to welcome Ms. Liu Xin, host of the primetime opinion program, The Point with Liu Xin, to Trish Regan Primetime tonight. Now, just quickly to the viewers, please bear with us as we have a significant time delay in our satellites between Beijing and the U.S., and because of that, we're going to do our very best not to speak over each other. But Xin, welcome. It's good to have you here.
Thank you, Trish. Thank you, Trish, for having me. It's a great opportunity for me, unprecedented. I never dreamed that I would have this kind of opportunity to speak to you and to speak to many audiences in ordinary households in the United States.
Yeah, it is indeed unprecedented.
Which
hang on.
I need to correct. I need to correct
I'm
because
ask you. I'm going to jump in. I guess our satellites are getting kind of weird. But tell me, forgive me. You are not what?
Yeah. Trish, I have to get it straight. I am not a member of the Communist Party of China. This is on the record. So please don't assume that I'm a member, and I don't speak for the Communist Party of China. And I'm here for today. I'm only speaking for myself as Liu Xin, a journalist working for CGTN. So if anybody wants to quote me or anything, please put my name there at least. Okay,
appreciate it. What's your current assessment of where the trade talks actually are right now? Do you believe, give me your current assessment of where we are on these trade talks. Do you believe a deal is possible?
It is true that the satellite connection is not very good, but I believe that you're asking me where we are in terms of the trade negotiations. I don't know. I don't have any insider information. What I knew was the talks were not very successful last time they were going on in the United States, and now I think both sides are considering what to go next. But I think the Chinese government has made its position very clear that unless the United States treat the Chinese government, treat the Chinese negotiating team with respect and show the willingness to talk without using outside pressure, there is high possibility that there could be a productive trade deal. Otherwise, I think we might be facing a prolonged period of problems for both sides.
And
Well, after watching the video, we focus on the transcript. Please think about this question. Who is playing the dominant role in the debate?
Is Shanice here? So what do you think about this question? Okay, well, look at the finding part and see who's playing the dominant role in this debate. The debate was analyzed by following the 4 steps in this model. The first and second steps, we combined it as context and power relations. In the third step, it means that we look at the discourse that the speaker used to represent his or her ground, and the discourse that the speaker used to refer to the other side of this debate. In the last step, we mainly focus on the lexical choice and syntactic structure of the 2 participants. The context of this debate was under the political issue of Sino-US trade war. In May 2019, the 2 countries conducted the 11th round of negotiation but failed to reach an agreement. The negotiations stalled out, and the 2 countries imposed tariffs over each other and making the situation getting more intense. It also raised heated discussion among the 2 countries. So before the debate, the 2 participants had already had some interaction with each other. Trish firstly made some comment on trade war with the account that the US was the victim and China was stealing from the US, so they had no choice but to start the war. And then Yushan counteracted her and accusing her of being emotional and did not know any facts. At last, Trish Regan suggested that they should have an honest debate on the trade war. They even respond to each other on Twitter. So we can see that the hostility has already existed before the online debate. Then let's look at the power relations. The 2 participants are actually equal in terms of their social status because they are both the journalists of a TV network in their countries. However, this debate was broadcasted on Fox Business Network, of which Trish was the hostess and Yushan was invited as the guest to talk. So Trish had more control over this debate. Also, if you notice how Yushan opened her talk, she said something like, "I've never dreamed of this opportunity. It was unprecedented," or something like that, to show her politeness. We also think it's because of the influence of Chinese culture that people tended to show their modesty. And on the other hand, Trish was more aggressive. So there is imbalance and equality between the 2 participants. Here's the form that compared the discourse about us versus them. Trish opened her talk by justifying herself not speaking for anybody, and then assuming her host was speak for the Chinese Communist Party. Here I want to mention this line. It was not captured by the subtitle, but if you listen to it carefully, while Yushan was clarifying herself was not speaking for the Chinese Communist Party, there was an overlap. And when Trish said this line at the same time, that, well, CGTN is part of CPC, I think it showed that Trish did not believe whatever Yushan says. And Yushan's discourse, on the other hand, we can find that she used the official statement from the Chinese government, which was very long sentences, to show her aptitude of being objective. So in terms of the syntactic structure, Trish used a lot of rhetorical questions if you look at the whole debate. and Liu Xin's discourse was more complex. We can conclude their speech styles then. That is, Trish was more aggressive. She made some subjective assumptions toward the other side. And however, she emphasized a lot of buzzwords such as IP theft, communism, to make her discourse to be more perceived by ordinary Americans. Liu Xin's discourse, on the other hand, was more applied and objective, and her long sentences with difficult grammar may play an active role in reducing misunderstanding of Chinese spoken English. However, it could also be unapproachable because it was not down-to-earth language. So here we want to make a conclusion that there is imbalance between the two participants in this debate, and Trish Regan was having more control or dominance over this debate.
Well, I will make a conclusion. This debate was sparked by the trade issue between China and the United States, focusing on 6 topics presenting on the screen. Actually, this talk is more like an interview than a debate. Imbalance and inequality exist between the two uncles because Trish just made some perfunctory remarks and asked questions all the time. Then Liu Xin took her turn to answer, which can be seen from the transcripts. Moreover, it was on the show that Trish hosts, and Liu Xin spoke her second language. Even though she has a good command of English, there are still some misunderstandings between Liu Xin and American audiences due to cultural differences. Only by analyzing the language used in their conversation could power relations and the implication beyond sentences be unfolded. Trish seemed to have more dominance and power over Liu Xin. We can learn from the lexical choices and the syntactic structures. Liu Xin was more polite and humble, while Trish was more direct and aggressive. The debate has generated a huge amount of attention on social media, and we found that netizens' comments on YouTube show that Liu Xin's performance was more impressive than that of Trish. The analysis of this study supports the main idea that the dominance, power, and inequality in the debate can be described, interpreted, and explained by examining context, power relations, and the formal structures of language. Furthermore, although the online debate grew out of an earlier back and forth and definitely hinted at misunderstandings between cultures, this event is still very helpful since US media rarely broadcast China's perspective on the trade war and related issues to American audiences. This is a way for Chinese and Americans to understand each other better. We really need this type of dialogue. The limitations of this study mainly comes from the research method we applied, critical discourse analysis, which has been a qualitative study for a long time. There is almost no systematic standard telling researchers how to select the representative discourse, how to reveal the hidden meaning of language. It's impossible to conduct social criticism without our own critical thinking. Although we have tried to be as objective as possible, it's still unavoidable. After all, we are not robots. From the references we consult, it could be a new insight to combine CDA and corpus linguistic. The index function of corpus effectively broke the boundary between quantitative and qualitative researches. As Partington said, it can reinforce, refute, or revise a researcher's intuition and show them why and how much their suspicions were grounded. Which means that the use of corpus linguistic in the process of CDA is conducive to increasing the number of discourse samples, helping to interpret discourse in a more objective and systematic way, and drawing regular conclusions. Those are references we consulted and the source of our video and transcript. And thank you for listening.